Dr. Pepper welcomes Danette to Trinidad. Not that Trinidad. Trinidad, Colorado. From the high plains of Texas, through the mountain passes of Colorado, to crossing a dam on a narrow road, our approach to our final destination is almost here. For the next few days, Trinidad Lake State Park is going to be home. We got in a little late, so we quickly set up and settled in. Tomorrow's weather report, snow? Really? Again? Yep. Leave it to Danette and I to depart hot Palo Duro Canyon for more dang snow. It's a gift, I guess. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words to explain my thoughts here.
Okay, well, we decided to come up to Colorado for a little while, and we didn't really check the weather, and as you can see, it's snowing, and it is cold. The outside temperature right now is about 18 degrees, and the wind is blowing, so I can't even imagine with the wind chill what we're looking at. There's only one other RV inside the campground right now. Last night we saw a tent, and it looks like they got smart and got out of there. So, yeah, it's been fun. Check the weather next time you're going somewhere.
Well, I guess everyone else but us and the birds got the memo of the snow. We spoke with the ranger and found out they had just completed putting new asphalt on the road a week ago. It's kind of interesting to see how hot the surface still is, with the temperature below zero, and the snow is melting as soon as it hits the new asphalt. Dory has become quite the snow dog. From her first snow at the Grand Canyon, completely unsure about that cold white stuff, to today, where she walks in like,
meh, it's just snow, what's the big deal?
The Florida is quickly leaving this dog. With the snowfall ending later in the day, Dory wanted to pull Danette in the snow. She was almost successful at getting a wet bottom on her mom. It was a little uneasy having the entire place to ourselves, but kinda cool at the same time. At this point, other than the rangers once in a while, there's been no other human encounters. We came across an outdoor amphitheater. I turned around just in time to see the thin ice on our path, so best start taking some baby steps so we don't fall. Would now be a bad time to tell Dory to mush, mush, and see what would happen? Well, since Danette rolled her ankle back in Calico, I guess I'll be nice. The dam, which created Trinidad Lake, was built as an irrigation and flood control project by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in 1978. The park has been managed by Colorado State Park since 1980. The park's size is 2,500 acres at an average altitude of 6,300 feet above sea level. The lake encompasses 800 acres. There's 9 miles of trails that wander through the pinyon and juniper forests. The next morning we woke up to see most of the snow already melted. So, we decided to take a little hike along one of the trails at the park called The Loop. Guess you may have figured out by that name, the trail is obviously in a straight line. Okay, you're right. It's a loop. I can't fool you guys. It looks like it has been a while since any trail maintenance has been done. There were quite a few places where it was very steep and very slippery. I would not recommend this trail for families with small children. When we climbed up the steep slope back to the campground, we came across this beauty. Probably would have been nice to have one of those at the other side of the loop at the beginning as well, don't you think? The remainder of the trail was on a wide paved sidewalk overlooking the lake. More breathtaking views. Views like this make it hard to get tired of being in nature. Later that afternoon, we headed into Trinidad to see this beautiful historic town and grab a bite to eat from a singing waiter. Trinidad, Colorado was founded in 1862, soon after coal was discovered in the region. Trinidad was incorporated in 1876, just a few months before Colorado actually became a state. In 1878, the railroad came to Trinidad, making it much more easier to move goods and people in and out of the town, adding to its slow but continuous growth. The architecture on these buildings is absolutely amazing. The detail in the woodwork, sadly a lost art. We love seeing historic buildings restored, hanging on to the beauty and the memory of the efforts that were made, not as a form of luxury or high society, but as a standard of the time. Most of these buildings still use their upper levels for offices and living space. In Jacksonville, Florida, where we used to live before beginning this adventure, the city leaders approved for the demolition of buildings with similar architecture. They tore down these buildings that were built in the early 1900s with the first floor as commercial space and the upper floors as living and offices. In their place, modern, yet ugly, apartment complexes with no commercial space at all. The leaders of the past knew the importance of commercial space on the ground floors of buildings. It's important to keep a city walkable. One living in the urban core wouldn't need to use a car as much as a person living in the suburbs. Need some milk? Walk to the corner market. Need a haircut? A quick walk or bike ride to the barber shop or the beauty salon. It just makes sense. The Frank G. Bloom House on the east side of the historic district is a beautiful French-style example of late 18th century luxury. Frank Bloom was a banker and a cattleman. He had this home built as his primary residence. In 1970, the Bloom House was added to the National Register of Historical Places and is home to part of the Colorado Historical Society's Trinidad History Museum. Say that 10 times fast. Across the street is an old church that has been converted into Rino's Italian restaurant, home of the singing waiters. We were a bit early for dinner, so not many people were in there when we arrived, but as the evening continued on, more people began to arrive. Frank Cordova, the owner of Rino's, was born and raised right here in Trinidad, Colorado. In his early 20s, he and his brother Bob moved to Hollywood, California to make it big in the music industry. Over time, with growing families, his brother Bob decided to move to Las Vegas and support a family-owned Italian restaurant. A light bulb went off, and the two brothers realized their dream of music could become a reality, a stable reality, with singing waiters in a restaurant. In 1979, Frank moved his family to Las Vegas. Their idea was a huge success, and they are known as the original singing waiters in Las Vegas. 25 years of the fast-paced Vegas lifestyle and Italian restaurant experience, they began to dream of owning and operating their own restaurant. In 2002, with the help of their brother Joe and sister Linda, their dream became a reality with Rino's Italian Restaurant and Steakhouse. In 2007, Frank took over as sole owner, continuing to live out the dream. The service was spectacular. The restaurant staff know how to work as a team, giving their guests the red carpet treatment. One bite of my spaghetti and meatballs, and it was all I could say was, forget about it. The flavors were spot on. Frank came over to our table and introduced himself to us and told us the history and story of how they became the singing waiters of Las Vegas. Danette asked if any singing was going to happen or were we too early. Frank grabbed the mic and gave us a show, singing 2 songs for us. I hope you enjoy this as much as we did.
It's amazing.
Keeps that Georgia on my mind. Katari che viene a dissere, tu parla come da spame, tu non c'è pienses tu dolore mio, te non c'è piense, te non te ne cuore. Corre, corre ingrato, che hai oblidato a vita mia, tu sei passato, non c'è piens e io.
Oh, wow, chills. Oh, that was so cool.
Thank you, Frank, and your staff for a beautiful evening.